Wonder why my jumper pack's not working. YouTube should know. Oh, this one looks promising.
We don't know, but it's a bear. You've made it to your car, you turn the squirrels trapped in there. Six of them.
Guy, what the heck? Who made this video?
It was me. I made that video. So that was my very first quick tip video, and it was fun and all, but I've realized the information to nonsense ratio was a bit unbalanced. Other people have apparently realized that too. So I'm revisiting it to hopefully do a better job. Okay, the golden question I think people expected answered from that original video was, how do I know if my jumper pack is defective? In this video, we'll look at the Stanley jumper pack from that original video, and I'll show you how to know if it's working properly. However, there are two main types of jumper packs that exist out there. We've got this big Stanley jumper pack, and then we've got this little guy here. At the core of this whole topic, there's a conversation to be had about batteries, which is what the main difference is between these two jumper packs. The Stanley jumper pack uses a lead acid battery, and this little Butcher pack uses lithium ion batteries. I realized in planning this video there really is a lot to discuss on the topic of jumper packs, jump starting, and batteries, and the batteries that jumper packs use. So I'll be making a little mini-series on these topics. But to start, let's look at how to tell if this Stanley jumper pack is working correctly. Alright, before anything, let me start out by giving you one quick important tip about these jumper packs, whichever type you happen to have. I kind of made an assumption in that first video. I'm one of those weird guys that actually reads instruction manuals. It occurred to me not everyone does this. I don't know why. It's good reading, guys. Well, regardless of what type of jumper pack you own, you need to keep it charged. The Stanley jumper pack manual recommends charging once a month, and my little Butcher jumper pack recommends charging every 1 to 3 months. We'll talk more about the why behind this in the later videos, but keep them charged if you expect them to work when you need them. Okay, to keep things simple, a jumper pack is really just a battery at its core. They tend to have some extra features built in, like a light or USB ports, or in the case of this Stanley jumper pack, a really crappy air compressor. I don't recommend getting a Stanley jumper pack. But anyway, other than that, a jumper pack is just a battery. Sometimes they include some pesky safety features as well. How boring. Luckily, my Stanley jumper pack has no safety features. Well, I guess it has a pesky little buzzer that sounds if you hook your cables up wrong, but it's only an alarm. It doesn't actually disconnect anything to protect you from explosions or squirrels.
It was a nightmare.
Oh, by the way, I fully anticipate using my explosion video effects extensively through this whole series. I'm kind of excited about it. Okay, we're going to determine whether the jumper pack can supply the amount of current it is supposed to supply. Current is the ethereal squirrel juice that makes the engine go. If you want a more serious, no-nonsense explanation of current, voltage, and resistance, check out my safety video. I'll put a card above and a link in the description. But before we play with squirrel juice, let's have some fun and disembowel my Stanley jumper pack. I told you there were squirrels in there, and you didn't believe me. Okay, fine. This is what was actually in there. It's a lead acid battery. It's a little baby version of the battery that's in your car. Remember I said in my original jumper pack video there aren't as many squirrels in your jumper pack? It wasn't complete nonsense. It's just a little baby squirrel. Battery. Okay, it was a little bit nonsense. Little bit. Well, I said earlier we need to measure current draw to determine if the jumper pack is working. There was a point to disemboweling my jumper pack, other than just for fun. I wanted to see what ratings were marked on the actual battery. So the battery is marked cell CB9-12, and all it has is a 9 amp hour rating. If you aren't familiar with amp hour ratings, in a perfect world it means if it is supplying 9 amps to something, it will last an hour before it's depleted. But we don't live in a perfect world. Sometimes they'll give you an actual current rating along with the amp hour rating, such as at 1.5 amps. The amp hour rating is just an indicator of how to calculate charge and discharge times. With this battery, if we draw 9 amps from it, it's not likely it'll last a whole hour. This is why you'll sometimes see a C rating with batteries as well, but we'll talk more about that nonsense in a later video. The best way to check the health of the battery would be to test its charge and discharge rates at the manufacturer's load specifications. You know, however they came up with their 9 amp hour rating to begin with. But ain't nobody got time for that. I'm planning to test it in a way the average Joe can easily do, so I was hoping to find a cranking or cold cranking amps rating for the battery. If I had a nicer battery load tester, I could adjust the resistance of the load tester to 3 times the amp hour rating, which would be 27 amps. Typically, amp hour rated batteries are tested at 3 times the amp hour rating, and batteries rated in cold cranking amps are tested at half the cold cranking amp rating. I have 2 load testers I'm planning to use, and they're meant for a normal car battery. The one smaller electronic tester is pretty straightforward, and that's the one I'll be using in this video. The other, more traditional load tester is a little more complicated. You can't just hook it up to this smaller battery and test it the way you would a normal car battery, because these things have a static resistance that can't be changed. So I'm going to explain how to use that one in the next video, since I know this is the type more people are likely to have. They tend to be cheaper, but just a fair warning, there will probably be some math involved. Alright, I did some Googling to see if I could find a spec sheet for this particular battery, but alas, I couldn't even find this battery for purchase anywhere. It must be made exclusively for manufacturers. I did find some other replacement batteries though that supposedly have the same specifications. This one I found is rated at 120 cold cranking amps, which seems about right for a battery of this size. So that's the value I'm going to use. Now, to test this small jumper pack battery with my electronic tester, it should be isolated from the rest of whatever circuitry is built into my jumper pack. So in your case, you're going to have to remove the battery just like I did. In the next video, we'll be able to test it without removing it, but like I said, there will be some math involved, so pick your poison, I guess. I might go more in depth in a separate video about how these electronic load testers work, but that would probably be diving more into a topic that belongs in my Learn Electronics videos. If there's interest though, I might make an attempt to explain it simply. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. Once the battery is out of the jumper pack, testing it is pretty straightforward, but first, a word about safety. There's always inherent risk working with lead-acid batteries, charging them, or testing them. We'll talk more about all that in a whole video specifically about lead-acid batteries, but for now, wear a face shield and rubber gloves. Most of the risk is with arcs and sparking, and that's especially something to be wary of with a battery like this where the terminals are so close together. You don't want to make any contact between the 2 terminals. Also, there is a greater risk immediately after charging. If you just charge the battery, wait a few hours. With that said, it's actually kind of hard to make a modern lead-acid battery explode. But with that said, I've personally witnessed 2 of them exploding, and it's pretty scary. You should wear a face shield and gloves. And just to abate any fact checkers, this is an AGM lead-acid battery, which in some ways is safer, but in other ways is more dangerous. We'll talk all about that later. Okay, actually testing the battery with my electronic tester is super easy. Just select the out-of-vehicle option, put in the cold cranking amps we decided to use earlier, hit test, and it does its thing. The tester will spit out a bunch of numbers, but it summarizes it all at the top, and in this case it says my jumper pack battery is still healthy. So my jumper pack is good. If your battery happens to test bad, as I showed earlier when trying to find a cold cranking amp rating, there are plenty of places to buy a new battery. But what about all the extra circuitry, you might ask? Well, in the case of this specific jumper pack, the only thing impeding the flow of current from the small jumper pack battery to whatever car battery you're trying to jumpstart is this on and off switch. I opened the switch up to examine it, and indeed it really is just a switch with no circuit interrupting capabilities. I could simply take this small battery out to my car and hook up some jumper cables without all this extra stuff, and it would work exactly the same, just without all the extra nonsense. Alright, I thought I'd sum up really quickly what all that nonsense our electronic tester gave us means, just in case your electronic tester doesn't give you a convenient summary like mine does. The first number is just the voltage of your battery. For a charged battery, it should be somewhere between 12.5 and 12.8 volts. The second number is the measured cold cranking amps, and you can compare that to the next number, which is what you entered as the rated cold cranking amps of the battery, which is usually printed on your battery somewhere, but I had to look it up for mine. SOH stands for the state of health of the battery. That's a convenient percentage rating that lets you know how healthy your battery is or how much life it has left. SOC stands for state of charge. That's just how charged the battery is. It should be fully charged when you test it. The last number is a resistance rating in milliohms, and that refers to the internal resistance of the battery. We're going to be talking way more about that in the next video, so don't miss it. To wrap up this video, I want to talk a little bit about the actual capacity and capability of this battery to jumpstart your car. This is a small battery. By itself, it isn't going to be able to start your car. Under load, your car's starter motor is going to want to pull way more current than this battery can supply, somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 amps. This small battery is only meant to boost or assist a car battery that is weakened, not one that is completely dead. So to summarize my original video, you need more squirrels. Alright, we've only touched the surface of all I plan to talk about in the upcoming videos. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and if you got value from this video, smash that like button below. I'll see you in the next one. This is Life Meet Lightning, bringing a little lightning into your life.